While I'm a huge fan of Oda's foreshadowing, the reality is that after more than 2 decades of world building, One Piece has started dismantling some of the very systems that once made its world so compelling. In key moments, the story even contradicts rules it previously established. In my view, Oda, who is known for intricate power structures and careful world construction, has broken parts of his own world to push the series into its endgame. In the early days, Oda crafted a world built on 3 pillars of power that created perfect tension. The Marines represented order and justice, maintaining peace through military might. The 4 emperors ruled the new world like untouchable gods, each commanding territories that even the world government couldn't breach. And sandwiched between these titans were the 7 warlords, government-sanctioned pirates who served as a crucial buffer zone. This wasn't just clever world building, it was genius storytelling because each faction needed the others to maintain global stability. The beauty of this system lay in its delicate balance. Remove one piece and everything would collapse. The Marines couldn't handle all 4 emperors simultaneously. The emperors kept each other in check through mutual destruction. The warlords gave the government pirate allies without fully committing to either side. Then came the warlord system's abolition at the Reverie, and this is where One Piece truly broke its own world building. Remember, the entire global power structure was built on this 3-way balance. The warlords weren't just random pirates with government contracts, they were essential components of world stability. Their removal and replacement by the Seraphim didn't just shift the balance, it completely shattered it. Oda needed to clear the board for his endgame, so established systems had to go regardless of whether their removal made sense within the world's own rules. Following this, power in the One Piece world has concentrated into just 2 structures, the world government and the Yonko. By the way, if you like these kinds of breakdowns, consider subscribing. I do these every week, and that way you won't miss the next one. On the other hand, devil fruits had clear limitations, the ocean remained every power user's weakness, and geography itself enforced the drama through the Grand Line's unpredictable nature. But here's where things get interesting. And by interesting I mean where Oda started breaking his own rules. The introduction of Haki during the Sabaody Archipelago arc fundamentally altered everything we thought we knew about power in One Piece. Suddenly there was this invisible force that could bypass devil fruit immunities, enhance physical attacks, and in rare cases, knock out dozens of people through sheer willpower alone. The problem wasn't that Haki existed, the problem was how it retroactively changed everything that came before. Think about this for a moment. We're told that Haki is this fundamental power that strong fighters possess, yet characters who should have known about it never used it when their lives depended on it. Ace, the son of the Pirate King and the 2nd Division commander under Whitebeard, somehow fought Blackbeard without using armament Haki that could have easily overpowered someone whose entire strategy relied on absorbing devil fruit attacks. Instead, Oda made a point of having Blackbeard explain that his darkness fruit was specifically why he could touch Ace, completely ignoring the fact that basic Haki would have accomplished the same thing. This creates a massive inconsistency that ripples through every major confrontation we witnessed up to that point. Smoker's fights with Luffy become questionable when you realise armament Haki would have made their devil fruit immunities irrelevant. The entire Marineford War takes on a different complexion when you consider how many characters present should have been using advanced Haki techniques that we now know exist. The Haki system didn't just add new powers, it fundamentally broke the established rules of engagement. Devil fruits were supposed to be rare and mysterious, each with unique weaknesses that created strategic depth in battles. But armament Haki essentially became a universal counter that made most devil fruit abilities secondary to raw Haki strength. Suddenly characters like Blackbeard, who spent years hunting for a specific fruit to negate other devil fruit users, look foolish when they could have just learned armament Haki instead. And speaking of devil fruits, let's talk about how their supposed rarity became a complete joke. Early in the series, devil fruits were mythical. People in the East Blue didn't even believe they existed. Finding one was like discovering a legendary artifact. But as we progress through the Grand Line and into the New World, everyone and their pet seemed to have devil fruit powers. What was once rare became so common that meeting someone without abilities started feeling unusual. This shift completely undermines the original premise. If devil fruits are everywhere, why did people react with such amazement when they first encountered devil fruit users? The world building established scarcity as a core element, but narrative convenience demanded abundance. But perhaps the most damaging inconsistency of all involves the fundamental nature of devil fruits themselves. For over 1,000 chapters, we understood Luffy's powers as straightforward rubber properties from a paramecia fruit. Then, in a move that shocked many fans, Oda revealed that the Gomu Gomu fruit was actually a mythical zoan called the Nika fruit, completely changing not just its name, but its entire power classification and abilities. This retcon represents everything wrong with how One Piece has handled its world-building post-time skip. While the change wasn't subtle, and may have been cleverly foreshadowed earlier, it was in fact a complete rewriting of established lore that contradicted 25 years of consistent characterization from the fans' perspective. Luffy went from being a regular kid who accidentally ate a weird fruit to being the prophesied reincarnation of a legendary liberation god whose fruit the world government had been desperately hunting for 800 years. The implications of this change completely break the internal logic of the world. If the Gorosei feared the Nika fruit's awakening so desperately that they renamed it and tried to erase it from history, why did they show zero interest in Luffy throughout his entire journey? This is the same world government that mobilized entire fleets to stop single pirates, yet they allowed the wielder of their most feared devil fruit to rampage across the Grand Line for years without taking decisive action. Even more problematic is how this retcon undermines the Zoan classification system that Oda spent decades establishing. Zoan fruits transform users into animals or mythical creatures with clear animal characteristics, but Luffy's supposed Zoan works nothing like any other Zoan we've encountered. Instead of gaining animal instincts or physical transformations, he gains cartoon physics and reality warping abilities that have more in common with paramecia fruits than anything else. This fundamental inconsistency reveals a deeper problem with how One Piece has handled its power systems post-time skip. The Conqueror's Haki problem exemplifies this perfectly. Originally presented as an incredibly rare ability, possessed by maybe 1 in a million people, Conqueror's Haki was meant to mark individuals with the qualities of a king. Its rarity made it special, and its users legendary. But as the series progressed and stakes escalated, more and more characters needed this power to remain relevant in fights. Now we're in a situation where nearly every major character in the final saga possesses Conqueror's Haki. What was once a mark of exceptional individuals has become standard equipment for anyone hoping to compete at the highest levels. The ability that once set Luffy apart as someone truly special is now so common that not having it feels like a disadvantage rather than having it feeling like an advantage. The advanced application of Conqueror's Haki coating attacks creates even more problems. This technique essentially makes basic armament Haki obsolete, while simultaneously making devil fruit powers secondary to raw Haki strength. Characters spend decades mastering their unique abilities, only to discover that coating their attacks with willpower is more effective than any specialized technique they've developed. Moreover, the introduction of advanced Haki techniques like Future Sight creates new inconsistencies with every revelation. Characters who should logically possess these abilities based on their strength and experience only demonstrate them when the plot demands it. Kaido, who has fought countless powerful opponents, mysteriously doesn't display Future Sight until facing Luffy in Gear 5th, despite the technique supposedly developing through intense combat against overwhelming threats. This power creep doesn't just affect individual characters, it fundamentally alters the strategic landscape of the entire world. Remember when fights were won through clever application of devil fruit powers, environmental advantages, and tactical thinking? Those days are gone. Modern One Piece battles often boil down to who has stronger Haki, rather than who fights smarter or uses their abilities more creatively. Take the Revolutionary Army, for example. For years, they operated as this mysterious organization that somehow challenged the world government, despite lacking the raw military might of the Marines or the territorial control of the emperors. Their strength was supposed to come from ideology, information networks, and strategic strikes, rather than overwhelming force. But as the series moves toward its climax, even they need to be powered up with advanced Haki users and special abilities to remain relevant. The most frustrating aspect of these changes is that they weren't necessary for compelling storytelling. One Piece's early arcs proved that you could create incredible drama and tension without constantly escalating power levels or breaking established rules. The Arlong Park arc remains one of the series' emotional peaks, despite featuring relatively low power levels and straightforward abilities. Water 7 and Eni's lobby created massive stakes through political maneuvering and character relationships rather than reality-warping powers. But somewhere along the way, One Piece became convinced that bigger automatically meant better. This shift becomes particularly obvious when you examine how new locations are introduced. Early islands felt like real places with their own cultures, histories, and internal logic. Drum Island's medical culture, Alabaster's political intrigue, and Skypia's unique geography all felt like natural extensions of the world's established rules. Recent locations feel more like theme parks designed around specific plot requirements rather than living parts of a coherent world. The domino effect of these changes becomes clear when you examine how they've forced other elements of the story to adapt. One Piece originally celebrated diversity of approach and the idea that anyone could find their own path to strength. Luffy wasn't the strongest fighter, but he had heart and creativity. Nami couldn't punch through walls, but her navigation skills were irreplaceable. Usopp lacked raw power, but his ingenuity and marksmanship made him valuable. This philosophy extended to the broader world, where different islands, cultures, and fighting styles all had their place. But as Haki became increasingly dominant and power levels skyrocketed, this diversity started disappearing. Now, if you can't coat your attacks with advanced Conqueror's Haki, you're essentially irrelevant in major conflicts. The unique fighting styles and creative problem-solving that defined early arcs have been largely replaced by increasingly elaborate displays of willpower-based attacks. Characters who once won through intelligence and teamwork now need supernatural power upgrades to remain part of the story. These inconsistencies become particularly glaring when you consider the world government's capabilities. They can monitor global communications, track pirate movements across vast distances, and coordinate military operations between multiple islands simultaneously. Yet, as I mentioned earlier, they somehow completely fail to recognize that Luffy possessed the one devil fruit they'd been desperately hunting for 8 centuries. Either their intelligence network is incompetent beyond belief, or the entire premise of the Nika fruit being secretly important was retrofitted into the story without proper consideration for existing world logic. What makes this particularly frustrating is that One Piece demonstrated for decades that it could create compelling developments without breaking its own rules. The revelation that Robin could read poneglyphs didn't contradict anything previously established. The introduction of Gear 2nd and Gear 3rd felt like natural extensions of Luffy's rubber powers. Even major plot developments like the existence of the ancient weapons or the Void Sentry worked within the world's established framework, rather than rewriting it. I think post-time skip One Piece has traded its carefully constructed world for narrative spectacle. Anyway, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments which broken rule bothers you most. As always, thank you for watching.